Hello everyone and welcome to your penultimate seminar of the series. Today we're going to be discussing the feedback from your Frida Kahlo seminar, and we're also going to be discussing nude artwork. Now I know that a lot of you, or at least some of you, might have religious reasons or personal reasons why you might not want to analyse nude art. This seminar will be discussing nude art, but there are going to be no nude images in this seminar. The images for discussion will be available on Moodle, so you can choose to analyse those if you would like. However, if nude art for any reason would make you uncomfortable, I have also set an alternative task that is equally relevant to what we'll be assessing in this session. So, let's get on to Frida Kahlo. So this is some feedback from your Frida Kahlo seminar, and I'm going to go through each of the 3 images that I set for you to analyse. A couple of you decided not to analyse one of the images that I set and chose a different Frida Kahlo image instead. That's absolutely fine. I really enjoyed reading your responses. But today I'm going to give feedback specifically for the images that I set. But don't worry if you didn't choose one of these images. I've still provided you with feedback via your journal. So let's start by looking at the wounded deer. Now, only one of you actually responded to the wounded deer, and I've chosen a short extract from their journal. They say, her facial expression portrays no hurt, but that could mean that she is used to the pain. Now, this is a really interesting analysis of the image because we can see that the deer, who is represented as Kahlo herself with Kahlo's face, is clearly very badly injured. They have many arrows sticking out of her entire body, and yet her face is not looking in pain. Now, this could be portraying Kahlo's sort of resolve, her strength, or even her apathy, and this response very well picks up on that, so well done. Next we have the broken column, and quite a few more of you chose to assess this image, so let's have a look at a couple of responses that I've selected. To accompany the tears, however, is an unflinching stare that could be construed as a representation of her resolve throughout her painful life. So much with the assessment of her expressionless or emotionless face in the wounded deer, we see that same expression in the broken column. And this response has also picked up on that potentially being associated with her strength, her resolve, the fact that she might be used to the pain, the fact that she's not willing to give in to her physical disability. With this image, it was created in 1944, and she still has a cover-up for her lower half of her body, indicating the ongoing insecurity of her different sized legs. The nails also go onto the one side of the blanket, showing the insecurity of the one leg. Now, I found this very interesting, and a lot of you were very, very good in your research into Frida's history, into her life, and you picked up on the fact that she was born with polio. She struggled with this, and this gave her a disability in one of her legs. It was weaker and shorter than the other leg, and also thinner. And she also had a bad road traffic accident when she was in her teens. So she grew up with a lot of pain. And quite a few of you picked up this specifically in this image. I've quoted one of you, but a few of you have picked up specifically in this image. If you see down this side of her body, the pins that are sticking out of her representing her pain are concentrated on just one of her legs, the leg that was most affected by the polio. So well done for picking that up. You've identified her history and how that has influenced her art, and you've related that to the image, even albeit quite subtle. So well done to those of you who picked up on that. Finally, most of you actually analysed the 2 Fridas, so I'm going to go over a few responses to this as well. Some critics state that the two Fridas represent a European Frida and a Mexican Frida. Now, a lot of you also picked up on her two separate identities, but why I picked this in particular, this comment in particular, is because this individual has looked into what the critical analysis of the image was. And this is an additional skill that I'm hoping you'll harness in the last few weeks before you're submitting your essay. Those of you who are aiming for the top marks, we're really hoping that you look into the critical reception of the images that you have chosen. So what have the critics said about the image? Her heart is cut, representing that she had to cut herself off emotionally and physically away from her lover for her own good. So this image was in response to Frida's, the breakdown of Frida's marriage. And we can see that Frida is cutting her vein there, she's cutting off her heart, and this response has identified that it's perhaps emotionally and physically cutting herself off from her lover that caused her so much pain. The hem of the traditional Frida has flying birds, which could show the past Frida's desire to be free like birds in flight. So we can kind of see here some little birds along the hem of Frida's dress. Now, this response has picked up on the fact that this could be a representation of Frida wanting to be free, but she is held back through social constraints and also her physical disabilities. So there's quite a lot of political and emotional influence in Frida's work. The final comment, I'll just move my window there. The final comment that I wanted to pick up on was still about the same Fridas, but this response in particular, and I won't reveal your name, but you'll obviously recognise who you are. This response in particular I found very, very insightful because they have appropriately identified a psychological theory which can help us to analyse this piece of art. So that shows some really top, fantastic skills. So let's see what they've done. The Victorian dressed Frida is holding scissors and they've cut one of the blood vessels that supply blood to the heart. This could show that the American version of Frida could die due to her divorce from her husband, as he was the one who led them to live a life in America, and without him by her side there is not an American version of Frida. A relevant theory could be social identity theory. This is where a person has a sense of who they are based on their group identity, and this is an important source as it gives the individual pride and self-esteem. Therefore, this could show that Frida socially identifies in two groups, one being the Mexican culture and the other being an immigrant in America, and these two groups are who she was as a person. And this is shown in the painting because she identifies with the two groups, and this is a way of expressing her pride of being part of the two groups. So this individual has identified a pertinent psychological theory and applied this to the image, which is a top skill that we're really hoping that in the last few weeks you guys start to develop your skills in applying social and psychological theories to art. Finally, now we're going to discuss this week's seminar, so this week's piece of work. Today we're discussing nude art. This week we're considering nude art, and analysing nude art requires utilising many of the skills that we have developed over this seminar series, but applying these directly to the concept of nudity. So I want you to focus your attention on the nude image and direct your analysis to the concept of nudity. So, previously we've analysed the history of the time when the image was created. Was nudity at the time considered scandalous? Was male nudity appropriate but female nudity not? Was the image censored at the time? And if so, when was it uncensored? Was there some kind of public shift in psyche surrounding the acceptability of nudity to influence this image being uncensored? The artist's history. Is there anything about the artist's history which influenced them to create nude art? Was it popular at the time, or was this artist particularly risque? Are they attempting to state a political opinion or a social opinion by using nudity? Analysis of the image. So what is the context of the nudity? Is the character undressing alone in their bedroom, or have they been engaging in sexual intercourse perhaps, or are they preparing for sexual intercourse? Is it portraying vulnerability, sexuality, humiliation, or sin? Consider really tiny details, such as, is the character looking bashful? Are they looking towards the floor? Therefore, is the audience supposed to empathise with them? Or are they staring directly into the camera, or not into the camera, into the audience? Is the audience supposed to feel enticed? Are the audience supposed to feel violated? Consider the placement of the character's hands. Are they trying to mask their nudity? Are they trying to regain some sort of dignity? Do they feel undignified and they're trying to cover themselves up? Or do they perhaps have their hands behind their head and they are showing off their nudity in all of its glory? Are they looking prideful or bashful? Critical analysis using psychological theory. Consider any theories regarding sexuality or gender power, etc., that could help you to explore the image. I've given these two as an example, but of course you can consider any psychological theories that help you to explore the image. And also critical reception. What was said about the image at the time? What has been said since? And do you agree? A choice of 3 nude images is available on Moodle. Now, the images that I've chosen vary widely. I've chosen 1 historical piece, 1 modern piece, and 1 sculpture. So there's quite a variation for you to choose from there. So please choose one to discuss and upload your response to your appropriate Moodle journal. I'll provide individualised feedback by the end of the week. So by the end of the first week when you are back at university after the holiday. Now, some of you might not feel that you want to explore nude art. It might feel uncomfortable, or perhaps you have religious considerations. In which case, rather than exploring nudity, I'd like you to consider scandalous art. So you may instead choose to analyse some otherwise scandalous art. So a piece of art that is considered perhaps politically scandalous, socially scandalous. So find, possibly just by typing into Google, scandalous art, and explore this. And you can choose any image that you'd like. I'd like you to use the same skills that we've been discussing over the seminar series and post your response to Moodle. Like I said, you may select any image, but please upload a link with your journal response so that I can view the image myself. Obviously, as with previous seminars, I'm not expecting reams and reams of work. A relatively short response covering a few of the points that we've discussed will absolutely be enough. Remember, seminars are supposed to cover around 45 minutes of your time. This video is going to be about 15 minutes long, so just spend another half hour thinking about this and submit your response to Moodle. It can be in the form of a micro essay or bullet points or whatever. It doesn't need to be written in a scientific manner. So thank you very much, guys, and I will get back to you with your feedback next week. Bye-bye.